All right, here's another trick. So kind of ramping into diminished stuff. Here's a thing. So before I get to the shapes, let's just take a I don't know, an E fully diminished chord. So that would be E, G, B flat, and technically a D, yeah, D flat. So yes, so E diminished. Let me get my. Well, here's a trick. If you put a C in front of that, that is now a C9, sorry, C7 flat 9. So a lot of times, if you see like a 7 flat 9 chord, you can just build a diminished off of the third. So, you'll see a lot of times where dominant chords and diminished are intertwined. But if you check this out, if you notice, D flat is a half step above C. So there's a quick way to find a flat 9 shape, and this is kind of how my mentors taught me coming up. So what you do is diminished seventh is a symmetrical shape. Like all these are minor thirds, right? You know, E. So we would call that a symmetrical shape. You know, it's the same intervals all the way through. So a lot of cool things can come out of symmetrical shapes. Here's one phenomenon. So let's call this, you know what, make it simple. I'm going to put it on the 2nd fret. Here's another thing about diminished. Any note, and this can be the root. So this could be E diminished 7. This could be, if I treated this, let's see, let me zoom in here. So if I had this, if I treated this note as the root, you could call it a B flat. All right, I don't know, or an A sharp, diminished 7. If I took this note, I could see it's a C sharp, diminished 7, or D flat. You know, there's a lot of ways to spell this stuff, diminished 7, right? So it has 4 possible names. So that's one thing to think about it. Here's another thing. If I flat one note, it becomes a dominant chord. So if I flat this, what do you know? I have an E flat 7 chord. So E flat 7. Well, that failed attempt. That's what I get for trying to be fancy. All right, let's go to this next one. So if I flat this note, that is now an A7 chord. So let me see. Let me just put here. This would be the root 5th, flat 7, 3rd. This would be the 5th, the root, the 3rd, flat 7. You can kind of check this out, and you know, don't take my word for it. You know, check my work, experiment with this. But I'm trying to save you some time. And these are all really cool drop 2 shapes. So it's a cool way to kind of, a roundabout way to teach yourself dominant 7th shapes, right? And a lot of times, if you're in a lot of times that flat 9 is a very common alteration. So being able to find this, being able to find this stuff is very helpful. Let's make this one flat this. And that gives us, you know, depending on how you want to spell it, but let's call it a F sharp 7 chord. I'm in a sharps mood today. Flat 7, 3rd, 5th. These are the chord tones. Root, 5th, flat 7, 3rd. It's okay. You don't. I mean, you know, eventually over time you will kind of get comfortable with this, but you know, for now, just let it wash over you. All right, I took the same shape. When you move it over a string set, same phenomenon. So this could be Let me, no, I kind of showed you that. I'll just delete this. All right, great. Let's see what notes we got here. Well, that's a C. We got a C. We got an F sharp. Got that's an A and an E flat. And again, any note in a diminished seventh chord can be the root. It's kind of a weird thing. You know, just file it under trivia. As you get into it, it'll make more sense, but that's kind of a thing to look at. So any root. So this could be, you know, depending on which note you decide to be the root, it could be a C diminished, it could be an F sharp diminished 7, it could be an A diminished 7, E flat diminished. Alrighty. So let's turn them into dominant chords. So this first one, if I take that C and flat it, I got a B7 chord. That should look pretty familiar to everybody. What if I flat this chord? And now you got an F7. So I'm labeling here root, fifth, flat 7, third. This would be fifth, root, third, flat 7. And that is an F7 chord. Pretty cool shape. If I put a F underneath it. All right, on we go. This is I don't use this shape a ton, but it's kind of, maybe you'll dig it. This would be an A flat. That's pretty cool. And these are good voicings. Again, these are good voicings. Sorry, torture. These are good voicings that when you're playing with a bass player and you don't want to grab the low notes, these come really in handy. So that might sound weird by itself, but if the bass player, you know, see if I can get all my pedals here together. I have an octave. See if I don't know if you can hear that. All right. And then if I so that was a lot of effort, but you know, when you have toys, you want to mess around with them. So right now on my pedal board down here, I have a looper pedal, a mini ditto. I have a freeze pedal from Electro Harmonics, and I have a super octave OC3 from Boss. Great octave pedal. So that's kind of my, you know, it's fun to play with, period, but it's great for teaching. All right, almost there. Stick with me. This is kind of an interesting one. I don't see this one as much in and out of itself. But you know, it's pretty close to other voicings I might use. So is that right? Yes. So if I get a D. Pretty cool, huh? So that's going to be flat 7, 3, 5, root. And lo and behold, these are all inversions of seventh chords. So, you know, maybe you could figure out what order they work in, but let's see here, that would be, so let's see if I went with the E flat shape, and then I went up here, I use this shape, that would be the next one up. Now I could use this shape, and then right? So all I'm doing is I'm just adding that. So let me change it so you can see my hand a little bit better here. So you know, if I were to reorder these, so this one with the root in the bass, again I can sharp the root, right? So let me get an E flat going here. plays that root. You know, however you want to do that. So if you're wondering how I'm ordering this stuff, you kind of go up the inversion. So the root would be the low note, then the third, then I use this voicing, and then I use this voicing. All right. Let's see. Let's do one in B. Let's do the one in B7. So, all right. So we have our B7. All right, then same order. I can go from here to, and I go to the one where the third is in the bass. And then, right, and then, that one's a finger twister. I haven't worked on that one that much. Let's see if I can get a better end. So there you go. You learned your diminished shapes, but you also know how they're related to a flat 9 chord. And in a way, it taught you like 8 ways to play a dominant chord as well. So there's a lot in this. You know, I just say pick up 1 chord vamp and just experiment going between the different inversions. And over time, it's maybe not something that's going to click within a week, but maybe a year from now, you're going to have all that chord vocabulary, and it's going to help you in ways you can't even imagine right now. So any questions, shoot me an email, but hope that helps. Take care.